I think the first question is, well, of all these companies that we actually surveyed, what percentage is using lead nurturing? And I think this is really the catalyst for a webinar on this topic, because there's been an awful lot of research, an awful lot of buzz about lead nurturing. And I think if you go to trade shows, we see all the vendors talking about it and having new decks and new white papers on the subject. The reality is we aren't seeing tremendous traction in adoption. So while I think a lot of companies have warmed up to the idea that there's value in lead nurturing, still only 22% of the companies that we surveyed actually leverage lead nurturing. Now, it's a pretty straightforward question, and I think what you'll find as we start to dive into some of the complexities of lead nurturing, that you may already be doing some of the tactics, but what's really important is that you are doing it with a systematic, a foundation of, we're doing this for a reason, and we're going to structure a nurturing campaign to deliver a specific outcome. And then of those 22%, the natural question is, well, how many of those are top performers? We see just a little over half are actually top performing companies that are leveraging, but they are more likely to leverage lead nurturing, which I think is a good sign. It gives us a reason to actually justify this topic and a report on the topic. But then we see, almost 50%, everyone else, 40% are using lead nurturing and not necessarily achieving the performance that top performers are. So there's still a wide body of companies out there that have yet to derive extreme value from lead nurturing, and I think you'll see why in this deck, and we'll also see what those companies can do to start deriving that top performing performance. So there's a fairly well-known fable about a group of blind men who were asked to describe an elephant. And each blind man gets to touch a different part of the elephant and therefore comes up with a very different description of what this animal looks like. And I think that we can draw a lot of tangents to the nurture marketing space. And I'm glad that Kevin had that slide in the beginning to really set the foundation for what is lead nurturing and what is nurture marketing. And if we look at, I think everybody has a different expectation, and I think that we're slow to see adoption because there's this compounding feeling that this is hard, it's a lot of work, it's going to take, more resources that I don't have, and we just don't have the time to do it. And so when we ask top performing companies, and we ask everyone this question, but for top performers, what are the reasons that you implemented lead nurturing? Down in the bottom here, you see that their percentage of their answers, but basically the top 4 reasons were to increase revenue, increase sales rep productivity, which is very important, and we'll talk about why that's so important in a little bit, educate prospects, and then build trust and credibility. And the reality is those bottom 2, educating prospects and building trust and credibility, those are competitive differentiators for these top performing companies. They stand out above the rest, and they get their ears of their prospects because of it. So it's something to think about as we move into what this actually is. Oh, sorry. Okay, so let's look at how lead nurturing actually works. I think if you're familiar with lead management, you've probably seen the analogy of the funnel in the sales cycle, and leads drop into the top and revenue comes out the bottom after going through your processes and talking to sales, et cetera. But I like to take a step back and look at this from a customer lifecycle perspective. And at some point before you had a customer, that individual, you weren't sure what they were going to buy from you. They were poking around on the website. Maybe they didn't even know they had a challenge, and a friend or a colleague said, you guys need to go check this out, or you should address this problem. So I like to split it up into a buying cycle, which is a point where you don't necessarily know what that individual wants. They may not even know they have a challenge or that you have a solution to their challenge. And for all intents and purposes, there are analyst firms out there. I've taken this from Serious Decisions. I don't want to convolute the space more by creating new definitions. So we'll use marketing qualified lead as individuals that are leads. You don't know their buying intent yet, and you want to educate them. And that's the role of the buying cycle. So all of us go through the same process when we're looking at a solution to a problem. Does it have our attention? Do we understand there is a problem? And do we have an interest in addressing that problem and a desire to actually take action because of it? And so as we go through that, this is way before you want to start selling to these individuals. You just want to educate them, help them understand the value you're delivering, so that when they are going to talk to sales, they know what to talk to sales about, and they have an expectation on what sales is talking to them about. As they move into the sales cycle, they become sales accepted leads. When sales says, yes, these individuals are qualified, we believe that they are that they really should be talking to us, And then sales is going to go through the process of actually qualifying them, where they become sales qualified leads. That's where you actually assign a budget, actually not a budget, but you assign an amount that this potential prospect could bring in, the products that they might buy, et cetera. And then hopefully you close some of them and they become customers and you need to service them. Now here's the thing about lead nurturing. It's not just about the front of the funnel. And I should have dragged this bottom arrow, the 80% of nurturing campaigns. It does overlap with prospects as well. But the vast majority of your lead nurturing campaigns, and we're going to talk about the 7 different types in a little bit, are going to be in the front end of this funnel, is where the buying cycle, and we're trying to educate prospects, and we just want to keep in touch, keep in communication with them. But what's really important and what is often overlooked is you can nurture your customers as well. You can nurture your prospects who have talked to sales and for whatever reason didn't close and have left. You don't just want to let those individuals fall through the cracks, because that's real revenue opportunities for your